That's one of the questions just about every person getting ready to retire wants to know, do I have enough money?
Omaha's retirement strategist Darrell Bryant is here to explain.
Yeah, Darrell's one of the area's leading financial advisors and retirement planners. He also hosts his very own weekly retirement radio show on 1110 KFAB. Good to see you, Darrell.
Good morning.
And that's probably is that the most common question you get when people come in? Do I have enough money to retire? Is that what people are asking?
Probably. I think people phrase it in a number of different ways. They'll say, do I have enough? Am I going to run out of money? How much could we have as an income and not fear running out of money? How do I stack up against everybody else? What's the magic number?
Well, it depends on how you want to live in retirement, I imagine.
Well, it does, and it also depends on what you've done so far to prepare, because it's not all. It's not about the number that you have saved, contrary to popular belief. I mean, that's obviously a component, but what do you need? What does the budget say that you need? The misnomer in going into retirement is not how much do I need to have saved, but rather what do I need as an income, and what are those income sources? So some of it can be knocked out naturally from Social Security, pensions, cash rents, etc. You might have had some annuities, etc., that are going to pay some income. Well, that's going to offset the need, right? And then, so we simply need to find out what the shortage is. Once we know what the shortage is, then we apply that number, right, to what you have saved, and so your savings is going to knock out the shortage. But you really need to have some specific software to knock it out and do it well.
So how do you know if you have enough money to retire? And is that the formula that you were mentioning? Or what is the formula for this?
Well, for sure, you need to do the math. And we've had people in just this week. I've had a fellow who's he wants to semi-retire. He wants to, age 55, professional guy, white-collar guy, wants to go into politics for the last 10 years of his working life, and he wants to calculate whether or not he could pull that off. Other people more traditionally, and in his case, he's in great shape to do so. Other people will come in more traditionally, just a few months away from retiring, or could be 8 years from retiring, etc. A little smarter, right? But somewhere around age 60, ideally, people will come in and we'll start talking about what do you have going so far? What are we going to need? Let's project into the future as far as what the income need is going to be, and then start doing some math accordingly. But everybody has a different situation, and people will ask, for example, hey, could we spend a little extra in the first 8 or 10 years so that we can, kind of sow our oats and get out there and travel and so forth. So everybody has a different need.
Yeah, but you said the age 60 is kind of a ballpark figure when people come in. But what if you want to retire earlier or later? How many years before retirement? When should you start planning, talking to a retirement strategist like you?
Well, it's one thing. It's one thing to plan early and save all you can, Mike, and do all that sort of thing. When you start getting into what we would call the red zone, you're within 10 years of retirement, it's time to get serious, because some of these products can generate huge incomes for you if only you would have started just a few years ago. If only you would have started, 10 years prior to retirement as opposed to 4 years prior to retirement. So keep that in mind. Certainly, the worst thing you can do, I mean, it's not all is not lost, but the worst thing you could do is wait until 3 months before you've already said you're retiring. You're throwing up your hands saying, come what may, I'm retiring, then we'll work it out. That can be a surprising, retirement time, because then we find out we really don't have enough money. But I tell you one thing, which is really encouraging, should be encouraging for viewers, is more often than not, people will come in and say, all we want is X. And here's our stuff. All we want is X. And once we do some math and we set up appropriate accounts for retirement, we can get a larger X than they thought, which is very encouraging, at least for several years, and then maybe back it down, to what they wanted in the first place on an inflation-adjusted basis. So it's fun to do that part of the math. That's the most enjoyable part of my job, is doing that math for my clients.
How many people are surprised at the number that is spit out after you do the analysis of all their financials and everything? Surprised that maybe they don't have as much money that they were going to plan on for retirement, or maybe surprised that they have more than they thought they would have?
Great question. Surprising to me, more people come in with the thought in mind that they can only generate a certain amount of income, and we find out that the number is much larger. It's more common for us to have a conversation of saying, listen, we can see that even if we use really, really low projections and so forth, high inflation, low rate of return projections, et cetera, when we see that, hey, you're just piling it up, so we need to make a decision. Either you need to tell me now that your main objective is leaving a bunch of money to your kids, or tell me that your main objective is enjoying the fruit of your labor, right? And usually they go right to the fruit of the labor.
Right, what kids? What kids are you talking about here?
And so that's always encouraging. So I would say more often than not, people are surprised at what you can do with a pile of money, plus your other stuff, plus your other, what we know as known incomes. People are very commonly surprised to hear, you got to be kidding me. We wanted 90 and you're telling me 115?
Right,
you know,
sure.
we wanted 150 and you're telling me 175? That's a big difference
Nice
in
surprise,
lifestyle.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, great surprise.
Yeah, but they would never know that. We had a fellow call, I'll tell you this quick story. A fellow called the other day, talked to Beth on the telephone. He says, I really want to get in and see you guys, and here's why. I called a guy, okay, his advisor, wanted to do some retirement planning. He says, I say, so I need an income plan. The guy says, I'm not really sure what you mean. We're just going to start sending you checks, right? Just let us know when you want the checks to come in. Well, that's not an income plan. That's just a custodial relationship to, right? Let me know when you need to take a withdrawal. We'll send it to you. You follow me? So
Sure.
it's very, so most people have never seen this kind of math done. Certainly they've never seen it done right there on the spot, right in front of them, where we input all this, and there you are. There's a realistic retirement plan, income plan. Here are the different accounts for different life phases, all that. It's a really, to me, it's
Yeah.
a really fun process.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it makes sense.
Well, have you ever wondered if you've saved enough money for retirement? Let Darrell and his team run your numbers to find out.
Yeah, get a complimentary retirement readiness review, and this is a custom review that is really, it's going to give you the insight you need to determine where you stand with retirement. And this offer is good for the first 10 qualified callers. There's the number right there.
Yes, 402-932-2141, or head on over to dbryantretirementstrategies.com.
Yep, just want to make sure you have enough money for retirement. Darrell,
Oh, yeah.
It's always a good
good
idea.
stuff today. We appreciate
Yes,
it.
thank you.
Guest of the morning.